welcome to everybody joining us for our Ekahau webinar today. We are going to be doing a bit of an update on all things Ekahau product related. So a little look back on what we've released since the start of this year and a little bit of a look forward onto some of the new things that are going to be coming in the next few months across some of our applications and platforms. But first, the thing that I'm really excited to actually announce is that we have a new member of the Ekahau team who I know you can see here, but he's not only just going to be joining the Ekahau team, he's actually going to be our new co-host of the Ekahau webinar series. I know a lot of you joining us today are very familiar with who this person is and probably been in some of his ECSE classes or seen him present at many different Wi-Fi conferences. So we are super lucky to have this guy with us today, and I'm very happy that he's joining the team. So a very warm welcome to Troy. Martin, maybe you want to say hello to everyone and just talk a little bit about your role here at Ekahau now, Troy?
Yes, of course. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Matt. Joining Team Ekahau, I've been an Ekahau instructor for several years now, showing people how to use Wi-Fi, how to create better Wi-Fi designs, transition from, just a simple green is good, where anybody can put dots on the map, and showing them how to design healthy, clean, and efficient Wi-Fi networks, right? And so by transitioning into Team Ekahau, as part of my role, I'll have the ability to drive new training content, to ramp up and model how we present Ekahau to the community at large, interact with all of you at a much larger stage, and get everyone excited about designing better, healthy, and more efficient Wi-Fi easily and more facilitated.
Well, I'm really excited to have you joining the team, Troy. I'm looking forward to all the great things we're going to be able to do together. So big welcome to Ekahau, Troy. And then Stu, maybe you can just quickly introduce who we are because we might have some new people on the webinar that are not familiar with what we do over here at Ekahau.
Absolutely. So, folks, obviously we've got our main folks here. Of course, Matt Starling, who's it's great to have you on. Obviously, he's our senior director of product marketing and ECSE, and of course, Mr. Troy Martin, who's just joined us recently. He's also part of our director of product marketing as well from a ECSE standpoint. Now, of course, you've got myself. They call me Sidekick Stu or Wireless Stu. I'm your global director of community and customer engagement on the webinar today. So. Matt, as always, it's always great to have you on the webinar as well as having these webinars together, and it's really cool from a community kind of standpoint, right? To have us all together, and of course, Troy, welcome to the webinar.
Yeah,
Glad to
thank
be
you,
here, Stu.
Stu. Yeah. Well, speaking of community, maybe Troy, you can just mention our Slack channel.
Yeah, in case you weren't aware, we do have a public-facing Slack channel that focuses on all things Ekahau. This is where we can exchange thoughts, ideas about different projects that you're currently working on, plans that you're making for future projects, site visits, how to optimize your workflow. Maybe there's things that you're trying to solve as you go through your design workflow or your validation workflow, and you have questions that you can ask the community. You can get feedback or responses, advice from other experienced Ekahau users. So it just gives us a format that we can communicate and share common war stories. And bounce ideas off in the public Ekahau Slack channel.
Yeah, Stu,
So
how many?
there's a QR code that you can quickly scan there to onboard yourself if you haven't done this already.
Perfect, Stu. How many people do we have in the Slack channel now?
It's a great question, actually. Today we've actually reached a milestone of just over 1,000 of you, and that's a great accomplishment. And thank you all for those that have joined up already. And I can't wait for the next thousand to join. So, but yeah, it's 1,000, Matt. I mean, that is we had a quick launch, right? We put this initiative in not too long ago, right? So it's actually really cool that we're already here.
Yeah, crazy how many people joined it so far. Looking forward to seeing some more of you in there as well very soon. Well, let's first of all start with Ekahau AI Pro online. So some of you joining the webinar today, I know there's a lot of new faces here. We've got a lot of returning visitors as well. You may be familiar with our desktop application of Ekahau AI Pro, but we also launched not that long ago the online version. So we're going to start the first part of the webinar today, really focusing on some of the features and capabilities and differences and nuances that you can do with the online solution, because it's probably quite easy for myself and Troy and Stu to get a little bit carried away. We understand and we know a lot of the features that come out, but from the recent events that we've run and in-person conferences and things like that, speaking to some people, it's easy to assume that you guys and girls know some of the things that you can do, and then when we talk about something like, oh wow, I didn't realize you could do that. So we all just want to spend a little bit of time recapping, showing you some of the cool new things that you can do, so you're all up to speed, and then you can start leveraging some of these nice new features for your next project that you're working on. So there is something that I would like to refer to with our Ekahau AI Pro Online is that we actually give you two different ways that you can design Wi-Fi networks. I think most of us on the webinar today are very familiar with this option on the right-hand side. This what we kind of refer to as a traditional method for predictive modeling, designing an RF network, where you would take a floor plan, upload it to the software, you set a scale, you draw your attenuation values, you set those attenuation values for your materials that you have in your environment, you draw in some areas where you'd like the coverage to be, place your simulated access points, and then you see the heat maps coming from those access points, and you would then be able to plan your network in that sense. I think we're all kind of used to doing that, but we actually launched a new method that you can take to update and design a new network leveraging measured survey data collected with the Sidekick 2. So this option here on the left hand side. So let's say that you've already got an existing Wi-Fi network, you're able to get on site, do a survey with the Sidekick 2. What you can actually do is push that data to Ekahau AI Pro Online without having to draw any kind of walls or any kind of obstacles or attenuation values for the materials that you have. We understand how RF propagates in your environment, so you can simulate changes like moving access points or swapping access points out to new model access points to see the impact for a network upgrade. And the way that we do that is once you've captured the data with Sidekick 2, we use a lot of like machine learning and AI and a lot of Ekahau scientists and data analysis engineers brains to build out that what we kind of refer to as a digital model of your space, understand how RF propagates, and you can then, like I said, simulate upgrading to a new model access point. You can go from one vendor to another vendor. Also, one of the most popular things around AI Pro Online measured planning upgrades I think I see is simulating going from older networks like just 2.4 and 5 gigahertz capable access points to simulating upgrading to a 6 gigahertz capable model access point that can maybe do Wi-Fi 7 if you're at that kind of life cycle upgrade point in your time. So you can see that in Ekahau AI Pro. So what I'm going to actually do now is I'll jump into a quick demo of that for you. So if you're not familiar with the online solution, you can just head to ekahau.cloud. You'll be presented with this homepage. And from here, we can actually access many different things. So along the top bar, you can see access to current AI Pro desktop. It will open a window for you to either download it. If you've not done that before, I can click on AI Pro Online, and this will actually open the online version in my browser. I'm currently using Chrome. I can also open Insights if I want to see all of my projects, Optimizer for if I want to look at some of my survey data files and then see if there's any room for improvement from a radio level configuration, and some of our other applications as well here. If I scroll down a little bit, I can see all of my different projects, and you can actually create something that's called a site. So it's basically like a folder or a way of keeping your certain projects in different kind of locations. So I'm going to jump into an example here from an Aruba network that I did recently. So I'm just going to click on this and then open it in Ekahau AI Pro Online. And what you can see here now is the results from the survey that I've done. So I've not drawn any kind of walls, I've not drawn any kind of obstacles here. You can just see this is the real measured access points and the signal coming from those access points in this environment. So I can click on any access point here and I can see the individual coverage coming from the AP. I can see the channel that it's using, the transmit power, the frequency band, etc., etc. And the thing that I just want to draw your attention to is if I take a look down here, you can see that we've got 2.4 gigahertz, and we have also got 5 gigahertz, but they have not yet upgraded to 6 gigahertz in this office. So maybe one of the things that they're interested in knowing is, can I upgrade these access points in these existing locations for a Wi-Fi 7 model that supports 6 gigahertz? So that's something that we can simulate, but or maybe they wanted to know is that actually, you know what, if I was to relocate this access point to a new position, like how would that impact my coverage or the signal coming from this access point? And all I can need to do now is simply just grab the access point, move it around, and you'll see the heat map will actually update and change without me having to draw anything like a wall or any kind of obstacles. And you can see that change in RF propagation from the access point location. So if I want to simulate doing a rip and replace scenario, like a one-to-one replacement and keeping the AP positions, what I can actually do is if I just select all of these access points from the left-hand side, then on the right-hand side, I'm going to pick my target access point. So I'm going to stick with Aruba, and then I'm going to pick a Wi-Fi 7 capable model, so the AP755. And as soon as I do that, it now just swapped to Wi-Fi 7 model of the access point. And if I just close this on this left-hand side, what I can actually see now is the predicted 6 gigahertz coverage based off the measured data collected from the Psychic 2. So now I can see the signal strength, I can see the secondary coverage, we can see things like channel interference and lots of information, which is really helpful and handy because one of the things that I used to get asked all the time when I was being engaged for professional services before I joined Ekahau, speaking with customers, they would always ask when we were going to do a deployment for them or a new network design or an upgrade would be if they can keep some of their existing AP locations so they can reutilize the cable runs because sometimes the most expensive thing for a Wi-Fi network upgrade is not buying the access points, it's actually running new cables because if you think about the downtime, especially in some critical environments, maybe hospitals, for example, and how expensive that can be to run cables, I can understand why users, stakeholders, customers, they want to try and reutilize some of those existing AP locations because of the cabling for that reason. So what you can see here is if we was to keep the existing AP locations, coverage, everything looks like it's going to be okay. However, if we did notice that maybe there was a bit of a coverage gap in this location, we could tweak the positions of the access points, like move them around slightly. Or if I wanted to, I can come in and I can actually add another access point as well. So I haven't got to just keep the APs in their existing positions. I can come into here and again, I can pick another Aruba 755 access point, and I can add as many extra ones as I need to my environment to come up with a new design for the space based on a different frequency band that we didn't actually could see before. So it's a real nice, cool way of being able to, uh, design or redesign your network based off measured survey data, and it's nice and accurate. So what I'm actually going to do now, unless there's any specific questions that have come in, Troy or Stu, around this method of approach for AI Pro Online, I will
Well,
actually
we've
pass.
had a technique for a long time where if you're going on site anyway, as part of your initial on-site investigation, you could manually measure walls and you could determine what the attenuation was, and you could take that back and update the predictive wall model that you're building. But is this technique more accurate than what we've already been able to use?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the research team did some analysis actually based on users defining attenuation materials manually versus the measured psychic to an AI ML model, and this actual method is more accurate because we're looking at the complete picture, we're basing it on real measurements, and we understand how RF is propagating in your space. So not only is this faster, what we've seen, but it's actually more accurate as well, and it's a lot of fun too. So why don't I pass over to you, Troy, and then you can show the other methodology of using AI Pro Online.
Yeah, for sure. So that was a question that Jamie had in the chat, just wondering about the comparison of the old school manual method versus this technique, and just it's essentially you can think of it as instead of just taking one individual measurement, you're taking thousands of measurements as you're walking along, performing best practices for your survey. Okay, and you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So Matt's already walked everyone through this initial landing page when you launch into AI Pro. So what I want to show you is if you were planning a project from scratch, but leveraging AI Pro Online to do that. So to do that, we're going to click on AI Pro to launch into that platform. You have a list of your existing projects that you may have been working on previously. But if you wanted to start a new project, we'd click on Create Project up at the very top. We can give that project a new name. Pick a site or a folder that we want to create that project in. So just add it to demo. As a personal preference, I like to use the other regulatory domain, and there's some reasons for that. It gives me visibility into looking at all the channels that are supported globally. I also like to set my sidekick to scan all the channels when I'm doing a validation survey. Because one of the things I like to look for is there may be malicious characters or rogue APs that are on site. And just because I'm not using that channel doesn't mean those malicious individuals aren't using that channel. So I like to scan everything and have that visibility. But I can click on continue to start my project, and I can choose a floor plan that I want to load, bring in there, so that it could come from my local drive or something else. And then we have some basic image editing capabilities that we can kind of prep our image before we start initiating our design process. So if there's color on the image, you do have the ability to apply a grayscale and remove that color. This allows the heat maps that'll be overlaid on the floor plan to pop, make it a little easier to analyze and review the placement of our access points, to see the primary, the secondary coverage, to see if there's channel interference with those different colors that are applied. We can adjust the opacity of the floor plan itself. So if you wanted to modify and change that, we also have the ability to rotate the image. So we can do some basic 90-degree rotations of our image if that was required. And of course, you can crop your image, right? If you wanted to remove some of that white space around the edges of your image, you can reduce that and eliminate that from your floor plan before you import it in. So we walk through this wizard. The next step that we want to do is look at setting the scale. So we have two little drag icons here that we can move and adjust our distance. Best practices, of course, are always trying to pick the longest distance that you know of, right? So if you're able to go on site and measure a large hallway or an auditorium, or if you can grab the images from Google Earth, Google Maps, use the ruler or the distance measuring tool to set and calibrate that. That reduces the error and the inaccuracies as part of your design, right? So once that's set, we can go ahead and click on finish, import this map image for us. We have the ability then that if we wanted to create multiple floors within our building, we could click on add floors to import those new floors, or if we're all done, we just click on finish and we're ready to begin our design. Right? So one of the other things I like to look at doing, and the reason that I like to set my regulatory domain to other, is I like to come in and customize my channels, right? So if I was designing a site within Canada, right? So again, being based in the Canadian Rockies, due to our regulatory restrictions and the predominant use of radar-based technology, we're not allowed to use channels 120, 124, and 128. So I like to see that these channels are available, but I'll come in here and manually exclude those channels so that none of my APs are automatically assigned those channels, or I don't accidentally use them as part of my design. But I like to know that they're there and have that confirmation that I'm not using them for those sites, especially if you're involved with an organization that's looking at global-based Wi-Fi projects. Right? The next thing I can look at doing is selecting the walls that I want to add, right? So typical to what you've seen before in the desktop version of AI Pro, you have a lot of different walls that you can add, some keyboard shortcuts, some hotkeys that you can toggle between those walls as you draw them. You can add and customize your different walls, right? Or if you fall into the camp that really doesn't like drawing walls, if it isn't soothing and a relaxing process for you, if you find it rather tedious, we tried to help you out with that. So we have a wall automated drawing feature that's available where you just simply click on that and it'll automatically place walls for you, right? So leveraging some AI capabilities, analyzing the image, we are able to draw different wall types. So you can see different wall structures for the inside walls, the doorways, outside glass, concrete structures, those kind of things. You can also add attenuation objects, right? So if you wanted to just quickly model here for my cubicle, I could modify this since for my cubicle, if I make it just a little bit smaller, let's say it's a 1 meter high cubicle, right? I can quickly draw this in, right? Add a cubicle here. And just to represent this, I'll just draw a couple cubicles in. We could also add a new material, right? So I could create a new material and I could call this file cabinet, right? And for the file cabinet, let's put it at 1.5 meters. And let's change the attenuation to be 14 dB per meter, right? So the special thing with attenuation objects is it varies the attenuation as the signal passes through that material. So the larger the cross section, the more attenuation you'll experience. So for my file cabinets, which are separating each of these cubicles to give kind of a sense of isolation or more uh, secret access while you're at site. Uh, oh, did I not save it? Creating a material.
Yeah, I think you didn't hit save, that was all.
Spell this correctly. Set our attenuation to 4 and set the height to be 1.5. This time I'll make sure I save it. And as I save it, it appears on my list, right, as expected, and I can quickly draw my file cabinets in here, right? And so with those items added, and going back to my walls, I can set all that materials there. We do have the ability that you can now visualize all of your design in 3D. So if I click on the 3D button, I can now quickly see all my walls that have been drawn in. I can see my cubicles, the file cabinets that I've added. I can rotate, look through different perspectives on my building, just confirm that my windows and my doors and everything's placed accurately as I'd expect it to be, right? So once I've done that, I can jump out of my 3D visualizer. The next thing that I'm ready to do is start placing access points, right? Actually, before I even place access points, I just want to dial in what area of this floor plan image do I care about for my design, right? So by default, Ekahau doesn't know what you care about, where you need the RF. And so it's assuming that the area represents the entire image of the floor plan. And we can see that area represented by that green box around the perimeter of our floor plan. Now, some people care about Wi-Fi outside. There might be areas where you have some employees have their fresh air breaks, that kind of thing, or there may be some parking areas that you need coverage outside, right? But you can dial this in by clicking on the area button. And instead of redrawing the area and going through that process manually, I can automatically detect where that area is, replace what's existing, and it draws in the area for me, and I can see that done. Now that I have the area dialed in and I'm showing Ekahau where I want to focus my Wi-Fi design, I can start looking at adding access points. So if I was to come in here and pick a manufacturer, this time let's just grab a Juniper Mist AP. And if I pick the AP 47, grab one of those access points, right? And then I can start placing it. And one of the really interesting things with AI Pro Online is the auto planner or assisted planning kicks in right away. And so it's already giving me suggestions of where it thinks that I might want to start placing access points. But I can leverage my experience, my expertise of evaluating this floor plan, having some insight to where employees will sit, where they'll walk, where they'll naturally move throughout this environment. And I can place access points appropriately based on those insights. And as I start placing APs, you'll see that the assisted AP planner starts moving APs to where it suggests additional access points need to go. So it's reacting dynamically to where I am placing access points, offering me more suggestions. So if I start adding access points, and maybe I will place some APs where it suggests, if that seems like it's a reasonable spot, right? I can put APs more in the center of the room, make it aesthetically pleasing for the humans that look at the floor plans. Maybe I know this is my larger conference room, so I'll put an AP directly in that conference room so it has line of sight to everyone sitting in that room, so they may get slightly higher MCS rates, consuming less airtime as they transmit while everyone joins the same Zoom call while they're in the same conference room listening to the same speaker, right? Sometimes that happens. Right? Now that I have coverage everywhere, right, and my primary signal strength looks pretty good, I can also flip to a capacity view and evaluate my capacity status of my design. And what we're showing right now is a combination of areas that we've exceeded the airtime utilization, as well as APs that currently have too many devices per radio, right? And so how do we fix this? Well, one of the common solutions is to add more radios, right? So as I add more radios, I also want to be mindful that I'm managing my co-channel interference. But as I plop in more access points, you can see that I'm freeing up more airtime, right? And I'm reducing the number of clients spread across each of my AP radios, right? So I can put in a few more access points, maybe spread out these APs. But now my capacity model looks like it may be meeting all of my design requirements. I'm not overloading too many of my access points with number of devices, and I should have sufficient airtime to handle my bandwidth requirements, right? And then as a last check, one other thing that I might want to do is I might want to jump into inspect mode. And inspect mode, I can imagine I have a person on the floor that's moving from one location or one end of the floor to another. Maybe they're walking from their desk to a meeting room, or it's lunchtime and need to go heat up their lunch or grab a coffee because they're up too late working on a new product or feature, something like that. But as I move the slider around, I can see which AP is currently giving me the greatest signal strength, right? Most likely the access point that I'd be connected to. And then I can also see which access point is likely my Roam 2 AP. And as I walk down hallways, I can see which AP I'm currently connected to, which APs transition into that roaming state. And as I keep moving around, I can see which access points I'll eventually roam to. And I can make sure that I've placed my APs and I've set my transmit power so that I'm optimizing my network so that my clients are roaming at natural roam boundaries or locations where I want them to roam in my environment. And I'm not creating any unnecessary sticky client situations or placing APs in hallways and creating those long tails where clients have the illusion of being healthily connected to an AP, and then they round a corner, take 3 steps, and quickly fall off the edge of the network. Right. So these are all new cool features that you can play with and experience as you walk through your Wi-Fi design workflow, leveraging AI Pro Online.
Great demo, Troy. Before you stop sharing, there was just a couple of questions that I think you'd be able to answer very quickly. So the first one was around capacity. How did you bring up the capacity visualization? So someone, I think they missed that. Basically, the option down there, right where your mouse is for the visualizations, you switch to the capacity view. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Right. So we got a list of the common visualizations that we're all familiar with by leveraging AI on the desktop version. So I just changed to the capacity visualization to see that. I can also get a summary of all of my design requirements by clicking on this little, right now it's 100%, but if I click on that, it'll give me an evaluation of what percentage of my floor meets my design thresholds from those different perspectives.
Yeah, and then if you click on the outer part of the area that was drawn for you, or you can yeah, so if you click on the area, this is where you'll be able to see the capacity requirements that have been set. So if you just click on like where the green line is on the area, on the right hand side now. So what actually happens is when we do the area for you or you draw the area based on the size of the area that's drawn, we'll actually automatically assign a rough amount of clients for you on 2.45 and 6 gigahertz, but you can come in here and you can modify that to whatever you want that to be to specify the amount of clients you want to support. And then you can change the traffic type if you want it to be, I think it's like low, basic, or high, and meet your requirements, or you can set your own one as well.
So in this particular site, I now have a lot of IoT devices, right?
Yeah.
Those legacy light switches connected to the wall.
Mhm.
Right, but based on our recommendations, they upgraded from their legacy 2.4 devices, and now they just have a small handful of them. Okay.
Mhm.
You also have the ability, if I click on floors, I can add another floor, right? And if I import another floor plan into this, right, again, doing the same thing, I can modify the grayscale, I can remove a lot of the white space. Right, and I click on next, I have the ability to add this floor within an existing building, right? Or if I wanted to create multiple buildings as part of a campus, I could drag it and isolate it there. But if I leave it as part of my logical building within Ekahau and set the scale for this floor plan as well, right? As one of the final steps, I'll have the ability to try align this floor, right? So I can manually visualize it, I can shrink and stretch it, right? But again, if that's too much, and if I don't want to go through that effort, I can click on the align button, and Ekahau is going to automatically look at both these images, and it's going to try automatically align them for you, right? Taking away a lot of that tedious task of doing some rotations of the image, finding the right corners to match up against, And when it's done thinking, it'll present to you what it thinks as the overlay of one image or one floor plan on top of the other. And if that makes sense to you as the human, instead of trusting Skynet completely, you have the chance to review that. And if it satisfies what you're looking for, you can click on finish, and it automatically adds that second floor now to your project. And you can go ahead and model RF propagations up and down between different floors.
Amazing. If you don't mind just flipping back to the other floor, Troy, one other question just came in around the attenuation objects that you drew. There was a question, if you can copy and paste attenuation objects. So if you, yeah, go back to the other floor and the cubicles that you've drawn, you can just select the cubicle or whatever it was. You can copy, you can paste, and then you can move it around. So yeah, you can copy and paste attenuation objects inside of Ekahau AI Pro Online. All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to demo on this before I steal the share back from you, Troy?
That was everything for now, but the features are coming quick and fast to AI Pro Online. So there's an aggressive transition to incorporate as many features as we can. So it's kind of neat to play with it every week and see what's new and what's changed.
Okay. Oh, Jacob's asked if you could quickly show one more time a 3D view now with the nice heat maps as well. And yes, Gemond, this is amazing. There you go. Nice. Yeah, it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, just to chime in just real quickly on the questions there, that was coming up now and again as for feature comparisons, and Troy hit it right there on the button. Is that we're moving very fast for feature parity, and you're going to see it kind of this platform here overtake the desktop very quickly.
Okay, Troy, I will steal the share from you. So
Yeah,
replace current
absolutely.
share, and I'm gonna guess my desktop one. There's one other question that I just wanted to answer quickly that came into the Q&A. So based on the measured method of doing a redesign that you can see I done here, there was a question that asked like, can now that I've updated all the access points and I put them in different positions, is there a way to kind of like reset this file and go back to just the original measured access points? And the answer is yes, you can totally do that. So all I need to do is go onto the left hand side, open up this panel. I can select all of these new network devices, so these new Wi-Fi 7 Aruba access points. I'm just going to select them and delete them by hitting the backspace on my keyboard. And you can see I have these deleted devices here. So if I select this one and scroll down to the bottom here and hold down shift, select it, I can then right click and then restore devices, and it puts the original access points back in their at the same locations that was from before, and going back to that original measured survey data that we had. So you can totally go back to the original survey data that you had from the file. So a quick recap of what you saw in Ekahau Pro Online. Some of the new features around there was the capacity planning that Troy demoed to you. So it's really great to kind of get a nice visualization for the amount of clients you want to support on your networks and the maximum amount of associated clients per radio. Then a really nice new feature is the inspect tool. So this is great for visualizing, how different clients may roam and transition between the spaces in your network. And if you used the right type of access points and antennas, or maybe you want to try out using some directional antennas, just to kind of see and, visualize how things and trends are going to be in your space. So again, a really nice new feature. So what are some new features that are coming soon to Ekahau AI Pro Online? Well, first of all, I think one of the ones I know a lot of you are going to be very excited about is the custom reporting. So you're going to be able to build out your own custom report in Ekahau AI Pro Online. And the way I want you to kind of think of how this is going to work is if you've ever built an online website where it's just quite some simple like drag and drop and relocating the different widgets where you would like them to be, but you'd be able to make it super customizable to your specific companies or a company that you're doing a design or analysis for. So you can input your cover page, your table of contents, you can choose if you want to see heat maps, you can choose if you want to see AP names, you can get real granular with what you want to see and then save that report and then use it over and over again. So the way it's going to work is just three simple steps to be able to define your custom report. So the first step is defining your structure. So you may want to have a custom report for your predictive designs. You may want to have a separate custom report for your assessments that you do for people. And you may even want to have a custom report for maybe just the installation team that's going to be going and installing the access points. So you might actually just want to have a simple report that's got a cover page, logo, table of contents, floor plan with AP locations on, but with no heat maps. So you're going to be able to do this, save the different types of templates that you want in your AI Pro Online, and then reuse them over and over again for your different projects. So once you've defined your structure, you can then configure the components for what you want to see. So for an example here, you can see signal strength from 5 gigahertz. Maybe you want the channels on, maybe you want the channels off. Maybe you want the APs on the map, maybe you just want the heat map. So you're going to be able to define what you want nice and easily in the online version and make it nice and customizable to what you want to see, and then generate a report. And then the report that you'll get will actually be in either Word format or in PDF. And then you'll be able to then obviously use that to be able to provide to whomever after. What else is coming next, Troy?
Yeah, so some of you in the chat have already been foreseeing this. We are adding some customizations to the heat maps, things that you may be expecting or want to massage and manipulate the data so it's more obvious about what's going on. So some of those customizations include things like adding device offsets, right? So you can pick and choose what devices are most critical, most important to your environment, and then visualizing the heat map from those perspectives, right? So this assumes that you're doing your survey with your trusted Sidekick 2. You can calculate your offset of that device that's important to you relative to that Sidekick 2. And then with the data collected using your Sidekick 2, visualize how it's different from those devices, right? And then as you generate your reports, you can have heat maps that represent, this is the heat map seen from our corporate laptop. This is the one seen from our barcode scanner. This is the one seen from our corporate standard smartphone. These are the IV pumps that we have in the hospital. This is how they see the RF energy. And you can visualize to see if there's any coverage holes, any coverage gaps, and then optimize your design specifically for those devices that are most critical to delivering your business outcomes. We also have the ability that we'll be adding shortly in the future to change the visualization heights, right? So when you look at the heat maps, it's a horizontal plane of the RF coverage or whatever visualization that you're looking at. Generally, by default, it's the visualization of what's going on 1 meter above the ground. But if you were designing for a warehouse, as an example, you may need the forklifts to have Wi-Fi connectivity at the ground level as they're driving around. But when they're stopped and they're loading inventory or product in and out of shelves, as they raise to an elevation, you may need Wi-Fi coverage, 25 feet or 8 meters up in the air. By changing the height of that visualization, you can confirm that your design um, propagates signal to the areas that are required as part of your design deliverables, right? So you have the ability to modify that horizontal heat map plane. Right. And then you also have the ability down the road to change and customize the colors that are used to represent the heat maps themselves. A lot of people like the traditional green and yellow, right? But if those colors aren't working for you for whatever reason, you have the ability to customize them. So that means colors that are more easily recognizable as the heat map or the signal strength changes with signals propagating and radiating out from the access point. So those are some of the additional features that are coming to enhance visualizations of heat maps within AI Pro Online.
Yeah, just a quick question for the people in the chat. Do you currently use anything different than the default green to gray heat map legend? And if you use a different color scheme, do let us know in the chat what it is. I would love to see what colors that you're using. Okay, Larry says purple, default. So I'll tell you, I always stick to green now because when I first started using Ekahau a long time ago, I um I decided to use a different colored heat map visualization. So I was using red to blue because in my head it made sense that red would be a hot, strong signal strength. And then I remember I sent my design to a customer, and then the customer instantly phoned me up and was like, "Matt, why have you done such a bad design for me?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The heat map, there's just red everywhere." And I was like, "Yeah, red is good. It's strong, hot signal." He's like, "No, Matt, red is bad." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So ever since then, I've kind of just stuck to green is good, and then not done anything different, but I'm very interested to see if there would be other people using different ones. So I'm just reading the
And it's so true,
direction.
right? You get used to the colors that you're used to looking at, right? And as soon as someone picks a different color, all of a sudden things look wrong, or you know your spidey sense starts tingling when you see
Mm.
that. I know some of the customers that I work with, due to visual impairments, the red and green just isn't a useful color for them, right? Because the heat map essentially looks all brown to them. They don't see the shades as it moves away, so they pick different colors for those reasons, right? Conceivably, you could theme the heat maps to represent the corporate colors of your organization, and have them tailored doing that. So that's an option to think of down the road. As long as you understand what the legend means when you're looking at the heat map, and you can read that legend, then you feel free to use whatever color makes sense to you and whatever colors help you convey that information to whoever needs to look at it.
Mm. Okay, and then the next slide I'm just gonna move over to. I think people are gonna get very excited about Troy.
Yeah, absolutely. So something that's been asked for quite a while, a feature that's coming down the pipe, is we are adding the capability to create 3D models, which will allow you to model floors that are angles, staggered seating within stadiums, conference halls, auditoriums, that kind of thing. So um, Matt's queuing up a little demo so you can see what this looks like live. But I think this is very exciting from modeling 3D in a lot of challenging RF environments.
Yeah, and whilst I just do something, a big shout out. I know Larry, I can see you on here, my friend. Thank you for sharing this floor plan with us and um the team over at NAU because I did reach out to Larry and ask like if they would mind sharing a small stadium with us. Sorry, one second. Because
It's always nice to get permission from customers before we share their floor plans on a public webinar. So thank you, Larry, for allowing us to do this with your blessing.
yes. So the reason why I asked is because I actually, even though we just showed it live, I do want to, well, showed it in the slide. I do want to do a quick live demo as well, but I just need to turn something on, which I'm doing on another screen before I actually show you it. So just bear with me one second, and then I can bring it back to the screen. Okay, that should be good. Let me move this over here. Okay, go back to sharing my screen. And here we go. So now you see my screen, and basically what I've done here is I've got just a section of the um, Northern Arizona University Stadium, and it's just one of the stands or staunches, however you want to refer to it. And I place some access points, and what I want to do is just show you what this now looks like in 3D, because now what we can actually see that we'll be able to do very soon, and you guys will have access to in Ekahau, is be able to model your space for auditoriums, for stadiums, for real complex environments. So you can see that we've got the tiered seating going up towards the top of the stand. I've configured an overhang over the top of the ceiling, and I've mounted some of the Cisco um, access points with the 9104 antennas pointing directly down towards the ground, and configure some transmit power. And you can see the coverage going down towards the seats at different levels. So you can visualize different APs one at a time, and you can see the different amount of like seats it's going to be potentially covering. And then yeah, you can just kind of see where it's going. So this is going to be something that's coming quite soon to Ekahau AI Pro Online. So just showing you a little live demo, a little glimpse at a part of a stadium. But you might want to do this for very large auditoriums or complex environments, so like for example, like cruise ships or any kind of space where you need to get a little bit more granular with building out the model to a bit more of a complex environment. So let me just take a look at the Q&A in the chat. What are people
And
saying?
we'd have the ability to not only just model overhead coverage, we'd have the ability to put represent the propagation if an AP was mounted under the seat, to show what that would look like. So in all the different styles and techniques that you'd want to model and simulate as you evaluate which AP position best meets our design deliverables. Overhead may have more or less access points than under the seats. And so you can come up with those what if scenarios once you have a wildly accurate model to put together for preparing your design.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So that was just a quick demo of that. Let me just pull up the slides again very quickly. Put that on this desktop. Go slideshow, presenter view over here. Okay, so what's this other new feature that just launched recently, Troy?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. We've been talking about APIs for forever now. And so we thought, why not take advantage of some of this and bring together the APIs between Ekahau and some of our partners, right? So we started with Cisco Meraki, but we do have the ability to reach out to the Meraki cloud and then pull back some of the information of how that wireless network is configured, and then display that within Ekahau AI Pro Online itself.
Yeah,
And to
okay.
make that
Well,
happen, it's just a simple process of adding an API key, which Matt's going to give you just a little walkthrough of some of the information that you can glean from that integration.
yes, so let me jump into another project file. I did see quite a lot of questions very quickly in the Q&A in the chat. We'll try and come back to them a little bit later on today, because I've got a few other things we really want to show you before the end of the webinar. But what we've got here is a survey file from the Ekahau Helsinki office that we did honestly quite some time ago now. So this was a survey that we collected, and we can see the different visualizations like secondary coverage for 5 gigahertz, 6 gigahertz. And we did purposely make some tweaks to this network to make it not so optimal, because this was before we was running it through our optimizer, see if we could find some ways to improve the network. But what I want to show you here, let's say we just focus on this access point. You can see it's using channel 136 on 5 gigahertz, and it's using channel 5, 80 megahertz wide on 6 gigahertz. But maybe, like, let's say you've gone and done a survey for one of your customers, or a one of your environments, one of your sites, one of your networks. You've got that survey data, and then maybe you go away for a few weeks, a few months. Someone calls you and says, "Oh, hey Matt, hey Troy, we've had some reports now that there's some issues with the Wi-Fi at location X. Can you take a look to see if there's anything you can do to, improve the performance, or if something has changed?" Typically what that would require you to do is to go back on site, do another site survey before you can start doing some analysis and a bit of an assessment. But what we can actually do now, based off the measured survey data, connected via API key to your vendor cloud dashboard, we can pull in the live changes from the RRM, so the channels, the transmit power, connected client devices, and then see if the network has had any kind of improvements, or maybe there's been some changes that might cause some issues. So let me just show you quickly how you would do that. I'm going to simply click on the top right hand corner where it says actions, connect to live network, proceed, and this is where you will need your API key, and I'm just going to input it into here and then go connect. And then what is going to happen now is it's actually going to go and fetch the live configuration from the dashboard, and then it's going to update the heat maps and all the propagation that you see on the floor plan based off that live data pulled back from the dashboard. So if I just zoom in on this access point here, you can see now that the information has changed. I can click on this access point. I can see the transmit power that's being used. I can see the channel that's being used as well. And you can see that it had an impact and change on the network. And if I come over on the left-hand side, you can actually have an option here to automatically refresh the API data, and you can set that to be every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes. And now if I just go over to signal strength, and if I go to an access point, you can see now this is the live amount of concurrent connected devices to the access point. So we can see how many users are connected to the access point. It's not too busy in the Helsinki office right now, kind of not that surprising since it's close to 8 p.m. So I would assume there's not that many people in the office, but when the office is busy, you can see the amount of devices associated. If RRM maybe had kicked in and there's not some strict kind of guardrails on let's say the transmit power, maybe the access points might have turned their radios down quite significantly and introduced some coverage gaps that you could identify quite easily here and see that. Or maybe some of the channels that have changed might be causing some interference, things like that. So you can kind of do some remote live analysis based off your measured survey data connected via the API key, which is really nice to be able to visualize and see. Okay, let me jump back to the slides. So next, Troy, I'm going to hand to you for some of the survey app updates.
Yeah, so a few new features are coming into the survey app that you can leverage on iOS. So one of them is getting a convenient list of all of your access points that you have on your floor plan, so you can scroll through that. see what their names are, what technologies they're operating on, what channels they're advertising. So it's a very quick and easily accessible side panel that you can look at. We've also updated the Wi-Fi generation numbers with convenient color codes that allow you to quickly, at a glance, identify if there's any maybe misconfigured access points, legacy APs, rogue access points that could be in your environment that are running those older technologies. Those colorful icons also display the difference between Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E. So you can confirm which access points actually have 6 gigahertz enabled on the radios. Some of those APs, for whatever reason, as part of the deployment, they might not be running the right version of firmware that allows them to enable that 6 gigahertz radio, or they're mapped to the wrong RF group or AP group, that they're just not running in 6 gigahertz mode. Right, so you can see that. And we also support Wi-Fi 7. So we will automatically detect that and represent any access point radios that are supporting and configured to run in Wi-Fi 7 mode, right? Lastly, we have expanded our ability to share projects directly from the survey app. So any of your field technicians that are running around on site, when they've completed gathering their data, so performing that survey, maybe they're a new survey person, after a couple hours, they want to confirm that they're gathering the information that you require, or they want to share it at lunch or before they leave site at the end of the day. They can share those projects and make backup copies just in case, when they go for supper in the evening, that their cars aren't broken into, someone doesn't swipe their tablets, their sidekicks in the trunk of their car, and you lose that data. So super important to make backups, which I always like to do before leaving site at the end of the day. Right. And then for anyone who wasn't aware, there's also the Just Go survey method, which is incredibly convenient in the scenarios where you don't have floor plans. Right. My family actually just watched the movie Novocaine, which is kind of like a new version of the John Wick series, which made me think of the Mission Impossible series of films. Right. So there's a whole thread of chains that go through my mind here, but I'm always blown away. I can believe everything that happens in the movie Mission Impossible until they get to that scene where that one super hacker on the team is able to find accurate 3D models of every building that they're trying to break into. And like, those don't exist, right? Floor plans just aren't that easy to come across. And so if you don't have floor plans when you go to site, you can leverage the Just Go survey mode, and Ekahau will automatically build and create a floor plan for you as you perform that survey, right? So here's just an example of what it'll look like walking through a warehouse where you can collect the survey data, building out the walls and the layout for you. And you can then easily visualize primary and secondary coverage. So I think it's a fantastic tool in those scenarios where you don't have floor plans, right? And you can also look at the visualizations that you're very typically would look at to deliver great Wi-Fi, identify any rogue access points or sources of interference that you may need to track down while you're on site, confirm that's actually the device causing your interference before you leave, and then you're kind of second guessing what could be that non-Wi-Fi interference. If you're able to identify it before you leave site, that gives you definitely the warm fuzzy that you found the cause of those issues. Okay. And then what's coming to Site Survey is something that I've been looking for in a while. Is in the current moment with the Just Go survey method, you have to perform the entire survey in one pass, right? So you have to survey that entire floor. We are adding the ability that you can pause and then continue within the same survey, right? So if something comes up for whatever reason, something blocks your path, you need to take a break from lunch, the fire detector goes off and everyone has to evacuate the building, safety conditions kick in. If that situation occurs, you can pick up where you left off, right? Which is fantastic, as well as adding the ability to detect furniture like chairs, desks, other obstacles, devices, and then better represent them as part of your floor plan that gets automatically created for you when you leverage the Just Go survey. Right, so I think some fantastic conditions coming down the road to make it more seamless as you leverage the Just Go survey method.
Yeah, Troy, I can see people getting very excited in the chat about these features. For anyone that wasn't aware, actually, Ekahau, we are a part of Ookla, and inside of Ookla sits speed test, Ekahau, down detector, and route metrics. And why is that important for you as Ekahau customers? Because that means you're going to get access to more data. And some of the ways that we're going to be integrating the other brands into our products, well, we already actually have Analyzer running a speed test integration. So you can see RF data whilst running a speed test and kind of understand if you've got issues with your network, internet throughput speeds, or things to do with your RF. One of the new things that's coming to Analyzer app is this new channel utilization graph where you can see the channel utilization and your speeds over time for the utilization for the uplink and downlink, which is a nice way to be able to see kind of like what is going on versus like the RF spectrum live too. So this is a nice new feature that is coming into the Analyzer application. And then in the survey app, one of the things that I've always done for the longest time, even before I joined Ekahau, when I was working doing professional services, I would go to a specific location in the environment, like some critical areas. I would run a speed test. I would take a screenshot of that speed test. I would then use the note feature inside the survey app to upload the picture of the speed test to correlate it to a position on the map. Because in some locations you might be getting faster speeds, in some locations you might be getting lower speeds, and that could be a good indication to having some performance issues or some network related problems. And what you can actually be able to do very soon in the survey app is actually just run the speed test and correlate the position on the map inside of the application natively, which I am very excited for. I love seeing the integrations between our brands.
And another thing we're adding is the ability to perform a packet capture for 10-minute intervals, right? So the idea here is that you're troubleshooting a scenario, you have to recreate that event, and sometimes you need a certain amount of traffic to pass through or applications to hit a certain state. And so we need some extended packet capture durations. And so by extending this to 10 minutes, that'll give more of our users the opportunity to recreate those performance or WLAN issues and gather the packets to understand what's going on. Because we all buy into the mantra that packets never lie. Just be mindful, sometimes the packet analyzers do lie. Or sorry, the packet interpreters do lie to you.
So we have Optimizer, as some of you are very familiar with already with for survey data. So if you do a survey and push it to our Optimizer, we can actually automatically analyze your network for you and give you specific recommendations to improve your network. But we have a new feature that's come to Optimizer. If you can, again, use your API key, you can actually pull in data for your environment and get recommendations based off your configuration on ways you can improve your network. So I think, Troy, you're going to do a quick live demo of this.
Yeah. So if we jump in again, so our main dashboard, when we first launch AI Pro, if we click on the optimizer button, opens it up to this window here. And what's new is there's a Preview Networks Live beta version up across the top. If we click on that and then click on Start New, this is where we can paste in our API key, right? And then we click on Next here. We can choose the organization that we want to focus on, right? And then we can view based on the data that we've collected from that vendor. In this case, it's from the Meraki cloud dashboard. Based on best practices, we can evaluate what's currently configured, right? So here's my little cue cards that I can see that are set up relatively simple, red, orange, green. Green means you're in good shape, orange, room for improvement, red is you should probably fix that, right? So as an example, I can look at my minimum basic rates. And you may have seen this if you're familiar with the Cisco Meraki Cloud. Now, normally when I configure my networks, I would customize this and set this up appropriately, but you have that little slider to set your data rates going from 1 all the way up to 54. And if you happen to set that slider to be 11, it includes both your 11B data rate as well as 11G data rates, right? So now you're mixing two different technologies, right? And so we're flagging that as an error, as an issue. You can also check to see if you have features like management frame protection enabled, right? Or if you haven't optimized your SSIDs when you have too many SSIDs shared across different bands, or even, which sometimes it's a little less obvious to check and something that people aren't always digging into, you can check to see if there's firmware updates for your access points, right? So some APs may be out of compliance, but once you've evaluated all these conditions, all these criteria, you simply scroll down to the bottom and you can deploy this out to your network, right? So you get a list of all the suggestions of how it's going to change your configuration, adjusting your data rates, your channels, your power levels, flip through all those different recommendations that it's making. And then you have the ability to create only a profile to apply that change, or you can create it and apply it. And then you can confirm that you really want those changes to kick in and be pushed out to your live network.
Awesome. Okay, let me grab the screen share back. Okay. So a couple of last things for we wanted to cover on the slides, and then we'll try. I'm just trying to quickly look through the Q&A in the chat. We'll come to a lot of them after the slides are finished. But something that you might have noticed if you logged into Ekahau Cloud today was some news around the guest link sharing. So a few things here. We are moving away from the non-secure public link sharing methodology to a more secure link sharing option. So even if you've got Ekahau, not even if you've got people that don't have an Ekahau license, you can share a link with them by simply adding their email to the project. And what this will do is it will send them a one-time password to their email that then they can use to then view the project file to make it in the cloud to then make it a bit more secure. So please be aware of this. There's going to be actually removal of the existing public guest links. So in the next like couple of months, any ones that are currently existing out there, please do try and move them onto specific email addresses. This is for security reasons to try and keep your projects and everything as secure as possible. The way that you'll be able to share the files now is going to be moving away from Insights and the desktop application to the main Ekahau Cloud page. So just as an example, you would come to here, I would find a project file, let's say this one, for example. I can click on here and I can go to share and I can just add an email address here. I can add someone who's got an Ekahau license, and if they don't have an Ekahau license, I can put it in here and I can pick which, if I want to give them view only access and things like that and manage it from here as well. So good to know that for sure. And since we was mentioning that how we are a part of Ookla and inside of Ookla is speed test, there was something that new that came to speed test. I think it was announced yesterday. I'm not sure when the actual update went out, but there's this new experience ratings. So when you run a speed test now, you'll see these new icons for your web that correlate to web browsing, gaming, video conferencing, and video streaming. And you get a score based on your speed test results for how well you can expect that particular application to work based on that speed test data that you run. And I did it yesterday evening and I got not too bad results, so it should be pretty much okay. I would recommend you guys and girls give it a try, see how you get on and what ratings you get. But yeah, just wanted to give you an update quickly on some of the new things coming to speed test as well. And Troy, maybe you can tell everyone the about the next webinar.
Yeah, so we have our next webinar coming up in a couple of weeks where we're going to focus on outdoor deployments, right? So we're bringing in our friends from Aruba Networks, Dobius and Jared, to talk to us about their and share their expertise in outdoor wireless deployments. So stay tuned for that, especially as we push Wi-Fi beyond the inside walls of our building and move out into parking lots, camping venues. Golf courses, zoos. There's lots of other outdoor sites that need Wi-Fi coverage as well. So we're looking forward to hear what they'll share with us in the coming next webinar.
Maybe we do the webinar live from a golf course outside.
Right.
That would be fun for me anyway. One thing I just want to highlight quickly is when we started the public Slack channel back end of last year, one of the channels inside of the Slack we have is around the webinars, and I put a question in the webinars like, what are some of the future topics you would like to see us cover on an Ekahau webinar? And one of the most popular ones that was replied to on the thread was actually around outdoor Wi-Fi. So we took that feedback, and then that's why you're going to see now in our next webinar that we're going to be covering outdoor Wi-Fi. And another benefit and reason why to join the Ekahau public Slack channel is you can give us direct feedback. We love hearing from you, whether it be towards our products, our applications, towards our ECSE training, or just general feedback around webinars and content that you want to see. It's a great way to be able to interact with many of us here at Ekahau, and then we can then implement them just like what you're seeing here. So thank you so much for those recommendations. If you would like to request a demo and see anything more about Ekahau, you can simply go to request a demo. Thank you everyone for joining us, and another again, like Troy, so excited to have you here as part of the Ekahau team. I think you can all agree with me. He did a great job on the webinar today. I personally really enjoyed the demos and having access to Troy's expertise and his brain for some of the nice demos and features and things that we can look at with Wi-Fi is going to be great for us at Ekahau and also all our Ekahau webinar guests and our users. So yeah, massive congratulations, Troy. So glad to have you here. Stu, Jacob, everyone else at the Ekahau marketing team, and all of you lovely people still with us on the webinar today. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on the next one in 2 weeks' time for outdoor Wi-Fi and with our special guest from HP Aruba.
Have a great week, all.
Yes. Okay, goodbye, everybody.